Hey, it's Jake Riepma filling in for Matt Derry on Locked On Lions. What a 24 hours for Terrion Arnold. The latest, plus a statement from his attorney. And there's a report out there that this whole situation may have even impacted a potential trade with Maxx Crosby. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Lions.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, here we go. Jake Riepma, happy to be filling in for Matt Derry, getting you to your weekend on a Friday, February 27th, into the final day of the month of February. Thanks as always for making the Locked On Network the number one podcast platform out there. And thanks so much for making this show your first listen each and every day. Make sure you join that Everydayer Club, like today's video, and subscribe. And how about a huge shout out for today's presenting sponsor, FanDuel. Use that profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Here's what I've got on tap for you today. My last time filling in for Matt Derry, the Terrion Arnold development. I had everything I wanted to say planned out and rehearsed and everything scripted out. And then his attorney came out with a statement no less than 20 minutes ago, depending on when you're listening to this. Obviously, I just realized that this is different than the Locked On Lions squad show that is live, and it works a little bit differently with the everyday show. So that won't be the first time that I do it, but you get the idea. The Terrion Arnold discussion, we could do an entire show on it, but I want to go through the facts. I want to go through the accusations. I want to go through how it impacts the Detroit Lions and specifically the secondary room that is already depleted and what it means. Now, there's also a report out there from earlier today from John McEachern on Lions on Sports Illustrated, Detroit Lions, the doc, who does such a tremendous job. I've had him on the squad show before, and he's been in Indianapolis all week for the combine, had quite the bombshell. So we'll read the details from that one as well and react to it in how this whole Terrion Arnold thing could have played a role in preventing the Lions in trading for Maxx Crosby with the Raiders, what it all means. And then lastly, we'll tie a bow on it with potentially a new outlook on the upcoming NFL draft for the Detroit Lions if they need to prepare in a situation that Terrion Arnold is not a part of their future, and how they replenish and replace that cornerback room and the secondary at large. So all that said, buckle up, dial it in. Let's do this. Shout out to the everydayers. As I mentioned, it's such an honor to be on the Locked On Lions podcast. And let's start with what transpired late last night from the Detroit News. Shout out to Nolan Bianchi, who's been all over this story, and really a bombshell report that broke after I finished recording yesterday, which is why it wasn't the major topic. And we talked about Terrion Arnold yesterday and how he needs to have a quiet off season, and he needs to, as Calvin Shepard put it, he even had comments on this at the earlier in the week at the combine, that he needs to stop talking about it and be about it. He's a great kid, this, that, and the other. He's got a big heart, but man, we need the production from it. And then here we are in the exact same week, a couple of days later, talking about some really damaging reports and accusations that are alleged on Terrion Arnold. So I want to start with the initial report from the Detroit News, summarize that, and now the recent developments that involve the statement from his attorney. So it's going to be a lot, and it's one of those episodes that's kind of unique because it's not, big opinions and anything like that. We're just seeing what's going on with this situation with the Terrion Arnold development. So yesterday evening, whatever you want to say, the Detroit News came out with the report. Nolan Bianchi, I want to make sure I give him credit, that according to this report, Terrion Arnold has been tied in an armed robbery kidnapping case from earlier this month in February. And it's always important to know Arnold has not been charged with anything or arrested for any crime, but the court order earlier this week alleges that Arnold and his friends plotted and executed a plan that involved assault, forced interrogation, and theft. And the way, or the background context, if you will, this is all playing out is it was a retaliation for thieves that broke into Terrion Arnold's Airbnb in Largo, Florida earlier and reportedly took 100,000 in cash, jewelry, and guns. So the court order goes on to explain that after filing the police report, Bioki Hilton is an important name to remember because that's kind of the ringleader in all of this. That the report says he conspired a plot to hold hostage and rob the people he believed were responsible for the original robbery against Terrion Arnold. Now, this is where it gets the not so good look on Terrion Arnold because it's believed he was involved, and as a result, the three people, including Arnold's personal driver, were reportedly assaulted and robbed. And here are some details on the court order from the Detroit News. Again, this is from February 24th, stated that the armed robbery and kidnapping were a direct result of Arnold and his friends deciding to take matters into their own hands after Arnold's rental home was robbed twice while traveling in a car with Arnold back from Tallahassee. And it goes on to say Hilton orchestrated the ambush, according to this court order. And there's even alleged text messages showing the details of the plan, if you will, involving a woman by the name of Ariana Del Valle, who is Terrion Arnold's girlfriend, that was instructing an individual to lure the people that had stole from them to their apartment in Tampa to then act as bait with promises that Arnold and his friends would pay Randazza for doing exactly that. So it looks bad. Thus far, 5 people have been arrested in connection with the incident, and that's according to the Detroit News. And we have, at the time of this article, there hadn't been public comments from Terrion Arnold's camp, but now there has been, and that was the late development on this, and why I'm a little bit later today, because I was still gathering. Okay, what let's get the facts out there. This is very much a he said she said, and nothing set in stone yet, but everything that's originally reported by the Detroit News and the court order does not look good for Terrion Arnold. Now, Dave Burkett from the Free Press, who is the GOAT, just does such a great job covering the Detroit Lions and has for so many years, had this from Terrion Arnold's attorney. And this is, I'm just going to read it verbatim. The official statement from attorney of Terrion Arnold. I represent Mr. Terrion Arnold in connection with the incident that allegedly occurred on February 4th, 2026 in Tampa, Florida, which resulted in the arrest of 5 individuals on serious felony charges. To be clear, Mr. Arnold had no involvement whatsoever in the activities that led to those arrests. He did not participate in, nor was he present for, any conduct related to the alleged offenses. There is no evidence in police reports, text messages, or witness statements that implicates Mr. Arnold in any way. In fact, after direct communication with the lead prosecutor, it has been confirmed that no charges have been filed against Mr. Arnold in connection with this matter. Recent media coverage has referenced an order issued by Circuit Judge J. Logan Murphy, which improperly suggests Mr. Arnold's involvement in the incident. That same order also incorrectly identifies Miss DeVell as Mr. Arnold's girlfriend. Both assertions are false, misleading, and entirely unsupported by the record. Mr. Arnold categorically denies these unfounded claims and maintains his complete innocence. He was not involved in the crimes allegedly committed on February 4th, 2026 in Tampa, Florida. Wow. I mean, strong statements. That's what you would expect from Mr. Arnold's attorney in this case. And again, I had everything out I wanted to say before reading that statement. And now, admittedly, my mind's in a little bit of a pretzel when it comes to this. So we'll wait to see the facts, the rulings. It's right now a he said, she said. It didn't look good for Terrion Arnold for the last 24 hours. The statement, again, from his attorney, I am terrible with this. I would be a terrible lawyer. I would be a terrible investigator, private investigator, whatever it is, because somebody tells me something, I just I guess I'm gullible. I believe them. I take people for their word, and so I don't know. You could, there's probably going to be comments that say, of course, his defense attorney is going to say that, but the fact of the matter remains, it's not what you want for a guy after 2 years that has left a lot to be desired in terms of his on-field play, a first-round draft pick that you traded up for. So quite the investment that was made to now all of a sudden rumors, murmurs, smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire, if you believe in that, but involvement potentially in some not so great stuff. So, and listen, I said this earlier today on the Locked On Lions squad show, which is a shameless plug that in addition to Locked On Lions, you got the Locked On Lions squad show with myself, Bradford Banta, former Lions long snapper, 20-year NFL veteran, and of course, Natalie Kerwin, the Pistons sideline reporter for FanDuel and diehard Lions fans. It's a great show. It's a great show. But I said this earlier today that take all of the human interests out of all of this, and it's again, it's not good. It's a bad look, but this Lions secondary can ill afford to lose impactful players. And I think the book is still out on whether or not Terrion Arnold qualifies or is classified as an impactful player, but it's not good. This is not, I can't stress that enough. This is not good. And the defense attorney's statement on all of it makes, just adds a little bit more murkiness to it, and we'll wait to see how it all plays out. But the statement does directly come after the media for their part in calling what they believe to be attention to the Terrion Arnold situation. So lots of developments in the last 24 hours. Terrion Arnold, after Kelvin Shepherd was on record saying need him to stop talking about it and be about it. This is more noise for the individual. And on top of that, the bombshell report from John McEachern of Lions Sports Illustrated, or Detroit Lions on SI, implies, and we're going to read that article in a second here, that it could have had a trickle down effect as far as the Lions' willingness to make a blockbuster deal. That's next. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started on the Locked On Lions podcast. All right, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. That's right. It's time for the NBA sweepstakes. If you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, FanDuel is giving you that chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. You use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a chance to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole shebang, the whole experience. And hey, if you're already looking at the board and thinking which team can make a deep run, well, now is the perfect time to lock it in, because you automatically get entered. And here's another little pro tip. This is not on the script. I'm going off script for a second. Take the Detroit Pistons, the best team in the East. Put the future on them. Let's do it. Detroit basketball. And now, not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the NBA Finals. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the National Basketball Association. Hey, it's the Locked On Lions podcast. Don't forget to join the Everydayer Club. That's right. Matt Derry does such a tremendous job with the Everydayer Club. And right now, free agency is here, and so are we. You can get 1 month free of the Everydayer Club with code free agency. No spaces now through March 15th. Go ad free. Keep the conversation going on Discord. You can join the club. I'll put the link in the description right there for the Everydayer Club. Now, this is another one that's hypothetical. It's dicey. There's that time of year at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. Guys are going to St. Elmo's and getting the shrimp cocktail with all the spicy cocktail sauce and everything else. But there's also the rumor mill that spreads. And if you believe everything you hear, and this one is reportedly backed by sources, there is a report out there that the Terrion Arnold development put a stop to trade talks with the Las Vegas Raiders to bring Maxx Crosby to Detroit. Now, again, being fair to the article, I'm going to read it verbatim. Detroit Lions on SI from John McEachern, who's been hard at work at the NFL Combine, boots on the ground. And this is what the article had to say. The Detroit Lions' efforts to trade Maxx Crosby have hit a roadblock at the NFL Scouting Combine. According to many in league circles, Detroit general manager Brad Holmes was more than willing to be aggressive to meet the trade demands of the Las Vegas Raiders, which included parting ways with 2 first-round draft picks. League sources expressed the recent developments with cornerback Terrion Arnold will likely put a pause on Detroit's willingness to part ways with early round picks, as the team may now need to use one on a cornerback in the not too distant future. Detroit's entire coaching staff and front office were in agreement that adding Crosby would have been a move that would instantly put the team in serious contention to win the Super Bowl. Both Holmes and Dan Campbell expressed during their media availability this week the team would keep an open mind for a splash trade or free agency signing. So I have no reason not to believe that this might be the case, and I have no reason to refute the claim that conversations were taking place, but now those conversations have hit or come to a stop because you don't know if you have Terrion Arnold for the foreseeable future, what that's going to entail. And if that is the case, this is tough to say, but man, if Terrion Arnold was a direct result in the Lions not trading for Maxx Crosby, it's not going to be too well liked in Detroit. And I think, as I said earlier in the segment, more and more is going to continue to come out and develop with all of this. But at the same time, if there's the perception that the Lions were this close, or even or that they were willing to make that deal, give up those first round picks, bring Maxx Crosby to Detroit, and pair him with Aiden Hutchinson, that's going to resonate in Lions fans' mind of what could have been for a long, long time. And listen, I'm no, I'm not insulting anybody, but how many times have we talked about, the last 2 teams to win the Super Bowl? Well, they could get pressure with 4. The Philadelphia Eagles, they could get pressure with 4. That's why they won the Super Bowl. The Seattle Seahawks, they could get pressure with 4. That's why they won the Super Bowl this past season. And if you put Maxx Crosby down there along with Aiden Hutchinson, you're probably going to generate some pretty good pressure with 4 or whatever it may be. So I really hate the thought of nonsense off the field shenanigans, legal issues for Terrion Arnold directly costing the Lions the chance to trade for Maxx Crosby. Because I don't know if you know this or not. Everybody listen up. I don't know if you know this or not. Maxx Crosby went to Eastern Michigan. He's got ties to the great state of Michigan. He'd love to be a Detroit Lion. I feel like that's become the new Matt Stafford and Clayton Kershaw were really good friends in high school. Did you know that they were little league teammates? No, I didn't know that. That's so interesting. I did not know that Maxx Crosby went to Eastern Michigan. Oh, wow. He should play for the Detroit Lions. But all right, that's a long-winded way of saying, hey, what could have been And again, I'm not gonna take certainly not jump into one deep end of the pool or the other and say this was definitely happening. It was out there that the Lions, Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, everybody was in agreement that we could, or we, that the Lions were open to making the splash trade or free agency hire and now have to reevaluate some things. So we too have to just wonder the Lions' direction and reevaluation of what that major move could be because we're close. We're close. That Super Bowl window is still open. We talked about the Super Bowl window. Brad Holmes thinks the Super Bowl window is still open. One more segment, and then we get you into the weekend, Friday, February 27th, into the weekend. We will talk about some of those prospects that the Lions could now be pursuing or at least interested in from the NFL Combine. That's next on the Locked On Lions podcast. But first, it is time for the 5-hour energy flavor draft. That's right, birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. You can order now at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. And you got to go to 5hourenergy.com because that is where the list of flavors is. Oh my goodness, it is time for the draft. Welcome into the 5-hour energy flavor draft. 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like confetti craze, fruity rainbow, or cotton candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. The flavors are ready. I've got my number one pick in the 5-hour energy flavor draft. Drum roll. It is confetti crazy. That's right. Just like every other 5-hour energy flavor shot, it's not loaded with sugar. In fact, you don't even have any type of overly sweet flavor with this one. It's a delicious blend of rich and buttery, freshly baked confetti cake, smooth vanilla frosting, and a little sprinkle of sweetness. Oh my goodness, I am getting just I'm getting the salivating. That's the term I'm looking for. Just thinking about it. Every single sip of that confetti craze 5-hour energy sweet birthday cake inspired flavor, notes of vanilla frosting and sugary sprinkles, smooth dessert like taste profile, and it is delicious, rich, indulgent sweetness from start to finish. That's why it's the number one pick for me. You too can have your own 5-hour energy flavor draft. Just go to 5hourenergy.com or you can buy on Amazon as well. 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. All right, closing it out and final segment of the program. Again, thanks to Matt Derry for letting me fill in on the Locked On Lions podcast. He'll be back on Monday. Appreciate all the comments yesterday. I had a good time reading through them. I know some didn't know I went to Northwestern, so brought a little Northwestern hat. Yep, there you go for all those watching on YouTube. Go Cats! And I saw the comments about being from Midland. Yes, I am a Midland native, Midland, Michigan, beautiful Midland, Michigan. Went to Dow High. Someone commented on the Dow High helmet behind me. There you go. But I also bleed Northwood Timberwolf blue, have my whole life. So I got the Northwood helmets here. Yeah, there it is. Oh, what a good logo. I know they don't have that helmet anymore. They're back to the paw print, but the Jim Leland bobblehead that's fallen down. But look at that. I caught it. There's the Jim Leland bobblehead. I caught it. We'll put that back. When we get the studio all back together. I just got to just relax a little bit here. Oh boy. All right. Final segment. Who the Lions may now be looking to draft entering the first round after some of the developments with Terrion Arnold. And I said this on the squad show. I'll say it again. All of a sudden, the secondary, the three probably most reliable individuals are all in question. And from a production standpoint, not necessarily injury standpoint. Obviously, Kirby was riddled with injuries all year long, but and that could be career threatening. I hate to say that out loud, but that's just the reality. So knock him off the list of reliable players, and because you just don't know. Brian Branch coming back from his injury, big question mark, and what that Achilles is going to be like on the other side of the rehab and recovery, another big question mark. And now for completely different reasons, Terrion Arnold, a huge question mark. So, three crucial pieces in the secondary that may dictate the Lions changing their approach. Now, the cornerback position is interesting. If you're like me, you still have Lions first round cornerback PTSD from Jeff Okudah. I don't even want to go down that path, but and I know that was Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, the Quintricia era. But man, that the notion of your first round pick at a corner position being like Jeff Okudah is just scary. But a couple of guys to consider with first round grades. Manzor Delaney out of LSU. He's not going to run the 40-yard dash at the combine, which is a business decision because this is a guy who every other component to his game seems to check out. The film seems to back it up. Great cover guy, oily hips, can lock guys down, 6 foot. So not the biggest guy, not the smallest either. But the straightaway speed is the question mark in his game. Now, I'm not sure if he'll run a 40 at LSU's pro day, but he has a first round grade, 18th overall in the top rated corner. So when you think about the Lions at 17, depending on how the first 16 picks shake out, what the board looks like, that could be a viable option. Now, the other piece of the conversation for first round cornerbacks, Jermod McCoy from Tennessee. He transferred from Oregon State. But the problem with Jermod McCoy is he suffered a torn ACL in training in January. So you almost have this prospect that put up really good stats, leading the team with 13 passes defended at a big SEC program like Tennessee. So playing against the best competition, team high 4 interceptions, but tearing the ACL in January is such a setback and such a big question mark. You don't know how drastically that will impact his draft stock. That's been a case in times before where guys take a chance on, or teams take a chance on guys that were previously injured, couldn't work out, and you're rolling the dice a little bit there. I don't necessarily see the Lions doing that with Jermod McCoy, but again, he and Manzor Delaney are neck and neck because Delaney's ranked 1 at the position of cornerback, 18th overall in top draft prospects, and McCoy is 2 for the position and 19th overall. So they're literally right next to each other in those overall rankings. Colton Hood, another cornerback with the first round grade, 25th overall player in this draft as far as the latest draft rankings. Also from Tennessee, 6 foot, 195 pounds. So these guys all have similar bodies, similar builds at that 6 foot, 190 range. So I don't know if necessarily the Detroit Red Wings. What am I? Oh boy, we got to get to the weekend, Riepma. You're killing us, man. You're the Detroit Lions. Why did Red Wings pop into my head? Hey, great game last night. You got Dylan Larkin scoring 2 goals, one of them in overtime, fresh off a gold medal in the Olympics. That was pretty awesome. So yeah, shout out to the Detroit Red Wings, Locked On Red Wings with Scott Bentley and Brian Fisher for whatever reason. But anyways, back to who the Lions could maybe draft from that corner position if filling the need of that position becomes the biggest hole on the team. If Terrion Arnold, God forbid, all of this reported involvement in the armed robbery and kidnapping is true, which his team has refuted and said it's completely untrue. So that being said, it's a big question mark. It really is. But some really good corners that probably will be available in those mid-teens to maybe pull the trigger there. But I initially thought, hey, there's a lot of depth at the defensive end, edge rusher position. Pair somebody with Aiden Hutchinson. We talked about a Maxx Crosby trade maybe, but solidifying the defensive line obviously needs to be at the forefront as well. But when you start having these conversations of just the lack of depth and the lack of bodies in the secondary, maybe that supersedes the need to work back and have the defensive line revamped as well. And then there's the offensive line conversation. So that's what the draft is for. Brad Holmes and company finding those late round gems to fill holes and be immediate impact players. But appreciate everybody tuning in today. It's been a ton of fun filling in for Matt Derry. I always appreciate Derry for hitting me up when there's an opportunity to fill in, and doing so on the Locked On Lions podcast. Don't forget to like today's video, subscribe to the channel, check out the Everydayers Club as well. Shout out to all the great Locked On content going on out there. Locked On Detroit, just in general, some of the best. This is a shameless plug for my new show, Locked On Pistons, the squad show with Kuka Heel of Locked On Pistons and Detroit Pistons legend Lindsey Hunter. You can check that out twice a week. I've got my Locked On Lions squad show twice a week. You've got Locked On Tigers with Scott Bentley. You've got Locked On Lions with Matt Derry, Locked On Red Wings with Scott Bentley and Brian Fisher, Locked On Pistons with Kuka Heel. All kinds of good content. That's why the Locked On Podcast Network is the #1 sports podcast platform out there. Look forward to reading your comments and look forward to filling in the next time there's an opportunity. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your Friday and a great weekend. We will talk to you next time, and goodbye.